So let me start today's video by showing you two specific pictures from 5th Avenue, New York. So the first picture should be here on your screen. It's black and white, so look at it very closely and tell me, what do you observe? So you must have observed that there are a lot of horse carts that are there on the road and you can't see a single car. Now this is from the year 1900. Now I would want you to look at this second picture. Now it should be flashing on your screen. So take a look at this. Now this is from the same exact place, only the year has changed. Now the year is 1913. What has changed now? Now you can't even see one single horse cart in this picture. Now you can only see automobiles. Now I would want you to pause this video and type it out. Really type it out that why do you think such a transformative change happened in just 13 years? I would embed my answer somewhere in the comments and I will check it. I will reply. Now the message that I want to drive home by showing these two pictures is very simple. And the message is that trends are very, very powerful. Now I will explain towards the end of the video that what happened here in New York, why such a massive transformation happened. But the core of this video is that I am going to explain that currently we are going through a tectonic shift and tectonic change due to coronavirus, and that is going to impact your career in a massive way. So it's very important to understand the key trends that are happening due to coronavirus. How is it going to impact you? So these are two key pillars that I'm going to discuss in today's video. Just a humble request that if you like this type of content, please press the like button. It would indicate to me that you value this type of content and I would continue to shoot such video. The first key change that is happening due to coronavirus is that the firms have actually started rationalizing their workforce. Rationalization is just a nice way of saying that they are just streamlining their workforce and firing a lot of people. Now this happened during the peak of the coronavirus as well. Many firms, including Zomato, Swiggy, etc., they laid off a lot of people. But there is a more systemic thing at play. Firms have actually started to realize that they can save a lot of money by streamlining their workforce and making their workforce very concentrated. So they don't need to employ too many people to begin with. You might have recently read the news, and I'll flash the news article here, that close to 3 million jobs would be lost in the IT sector. Now, IT sector is one of the most fruitful sector for the Indians, but unfortunately, close to 3 million jobs are going away in that sector alone. Now, it is not as if that the share prices of TCS or Wipro are going down or their profits are going down. If you take a look at TCS's profit, it has been at an all-time high. Despite that, people are losing jobs. My question to you is, why do you think that such a development is happening, that despite IT companies profiting massively, they are actually streamlining their workforce? Now, there are two specific reasons why such a development is happening. First and the most obvious answer is, now firms have realized that they can operate on a low employee count and they don't need to populate that bench strength. So therefore, they want to operate lean because it translates into higher profits. Now, the second reason is that the nature of technology and the nature of service sector industry itself is going through a transformation. For example, if you take a look at IT or software or technology oriented job, technology is becoming more plug and play. For example, there is a company called as Canva. Now, it has literally automated the designing process. Now, if you're a small company, you don't need to hire a bunch of designers. Design used to be such a complex topic, but now Canva has made it plug and play. Similarly, the software development, at least the process-oriented software development process itself is becoming plug and play. It's good that you know about coding. It's good that you are building up your technical acumen. You should absolutely do it. But you must work with the understanding that going forward in the future, the low-end tech jobs are going to get automated and high-end tech jobs are still going to survive, which requires higher level of expertise. For example, you might have heard of something called as smart contract technology. Now, cryptocurrencies like Ethereum are gaining a lot of value and traction in the market because of this smart contract technology that gets embedded into it. Now, if you are someone who understands such development process and if you can become a technical developer in that domain, of course, your career is well secured. However, if you're doing routine development and software development work, there is a very high likelihood that you will be replaced from your job. Now, this is the very nature of how technology evolves, that the previous structure gets dismantled completely and the new structures get enforced. Now, coronavirus actually acted as a catalyst to bring this change. Now you might say that, hey Akshat, you know what, this is only a private sector headache. Why should I bother? I am preparing for a government exam. Now here are some numbers that I would like to show you and I'll flash it on your screen. These are the recruitment numbers by UPSC. Now the UPSC exam announced 712 vacancies in 2021 and I will show you the data for the last 8 years. It will flash on your screen and here are the numbers. That in 2013 we used to have 1228 seats. In 2014 it became 1364. then 1164, 1209, 1058, 812, 927, 836, and finally 712. So you can see that the general trend line, even on top government jobs, is actually on a declining curve. Now, of course, the number of decreasing government vacancies have nothing to do with coronavirus directly, but the point you must remember is, and the point that you must notice is, that both public and private sectors are moving towards workforce efficiency. Therefore, going forward, there is a very high likelihood that there will be fewer structural jobs available in the economy. Now, the second key trend that is picking up post the coronavirus pandemic is that the work from home economy is picking up. Now, this is a trend that might fly under the radar. So let me give you a couple of insights from this trend. So the first key insight is that work from home is just not a trend. Now, this ties into the first point that I was speaking, that employers are actually looking for cost-cutting initiatives, and coronavirus gave them a lot of firepower to make structural changes in the way organizations are designed. Now, by design, a lot of employers want you to work from home because it helps them save insane amount of money. Now, this is the first step in terms of saving cost. Now, the second step is that in order to cut cost, the number of permanent employees that a company would have, they would cut it down. Why? Because when a firm hires an employee, they incur a bunch of cost, right? From contributing to their PF, giving them perks, giving them bonuses, and a bunch of different things. Where we are moving with this work from home trend is very, very simple. We are moving to a freelancer economy. Now, when a firm hires a freelancer, they don't have to pay them PF, they don't need to pay them insurance, they don't need to pay anything other than the project cost that is associated with a freelancer. That's point one. Number two, it's very easy to ascertain and pick up freelancers who are expert in their field. Yes, their per hour rates might be very high, but they tend to work from home. So the firm does not have to incur a fixed kind of an expense to them. But the most important thing why a firm would like to hire freelancers is very, very simple. That freelancers can actually bring in strategic expertise. That's one. Number two, they bring in a lot of verifiable work because majority of the freelancers have something called as a portfolio, which they can display to their employers. And number three, we are moving towards a specialist economy. So big organizations also want to engage with specialists. So here is the key takeaway that I would like to outline, that if you are in the early stage of your career, try to become a specialist at something. If you become a specialist, you will always have the scope of freelancing on your own. Now, this trend is also visible on government jobs. You might have heard that the current government is promoting something called as lateral entry hiring. What that means is that they are going to pick up people from the private sector and put them at joint secretary level and above within the government. Now that again requires specialist knowledge. So the bottom line is try to become a specialist, and that is the goal with which you should design your career. Now post the coronavirus pandemic, there has been a structural change in terms of how the economies are shaping up. People have started realizing that they must go to places where they are treated better. Now, I don't want to spark a political debate here, but it is very sad to see people losing their lives because of lack of oxygen, lack of proper infrastructure, crumbling of healthcare infrastructure in major metros in India. Now, this is not just my viewpoint. In fact, if you take a look at the data, you will clearly see that there have been a 63% increase in the number of inquiries that have been put in 2021 by people who want to leave India. Now, this is a very worrying trend for a country like India, but certain other countries. Now, I tend to talk a lot about growing countries like Estonia and Ireland. Now, these countries are actually playing very smart in terms of rejigging its economic infrastructure. For example, in Estonia, they are offering something called as nomad and digital visa. So if you're a digital entrepreneur and if you work from home and if you're participating in the digital economy, there is a very high likelihood that you can actually avail a bunch of benefits that is being offered by the Estonian government. They are rejigging their entire infrastructure space. There is a bunch of outreach that is being done by the Estonian government who want to attract smart Indians and smart people from other countries as well. Now, Estonian government is just a representative example of this. My prognosis on this situation is that majority of the governments have started taking cues that they want to ramp up their digital infrastructure and provide massive tax breaks to attract great talent, because several governments across the globe have started realizing the fact that if you can actually attract strong talent, your country automatically grows. So since we have discussed these trends, now how you should implement and grow your career using this knowledge. First and foremost, you must become a specialist in certain area or field. That is the goal that you should keep in mind. Because being a specialist would allow you to switch your job. It would allow you to pivot geographies. It would allow you to start your own freelancing business or a small consulting firm only if you have a certain area of expertise. Second point is that please do not depend on your job. I'll repeat that please do not depend on your job, because we are moving from a hyper local model to a hyper global model. What do I mean by that? It essentially means that up until now, India was a hub of IT jobs, and a lot of jobs used to get exported to US and other countries, etc., etc. People used to do on-sites by going to US, going to Europe. Such things are going to stop now. The reason is very simple, that because majority of the jobs, especially in tech, are being outsourced or are work from home. So even clients have started accepting that argument. So all this on-site is probably going to take a massive hit. So please remember that don't depend on your job. That is probably the worst strategy. You must be agile in terms of moving from one job to the next in the job market. Third and final point, please develop your global skill sets and please cultivate your soft skills, because as things get more remote, as things get more digital, you will have to interact more and more with global clients, global teammates, and what type of people they are going to look for? They are going to look for people who can collaborate and work with people from all across the globe. They have that personality, they have that leadership style and orientation. So therefore, working on your soft skills, leadership skills, and developing a global perspective will define the next leg of growth in your career. So I wish you the best. Please press the like button. It would indicate to me that you appreciate this type of content, and I would continue to shoot such videos. Now coming back to the first question that I had asked right at the start of the video. Now what was the reason for the stark difference in those two pictures in New York? The answer was that Mr. Henry Ford started something called as mass manufacturing or assembly line manufacturing, and it brought down the time to manufacture a car from approximately 12.5 hours to approximately 1.5 hours. So because of that, a lot of cars could be cheaply manufactured, and it eventually replaced from horse carts to automobiles. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.